Happy Tuesday. Happy Christmas week. Tonight we have a very lovely guest coming on. Her name is Kiernan Steiner, and I cannot wait for her to come on and share her adoption story with all of you. So Kiernan, once you come on, request to join in and we will get started. And she's here. Bring Kiernan on right now. Hi.
Hey.
Hello. I think we're the only ones on right now.
It's all right. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well.
Good. How's your day?
It was good. Able to relax and take a bit of a break now that the school year is done for now, and taking a little bit of break before we return in January. So
nice. You go to
trying
school
to.
for...
I'm in my last year of my doctorate in choral conducting.
Wow. What is that exactly?
So conducting choirs, directing, and the rehearsal techniques, as well as just learning about the historical performance practice of mostly Western European choirs,
Nice.
and learning about that. I've been in grad school now. This is my 5th year. So once I finish this year, I plan to graduate with my doctorate.
Good
So
for you.
thank you.
That's
Yeah, I'm very
exciting.
excited.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Chris. Welcome.
Hey, welcome.
Wow. That's really cool. So what's your plans after?
My plan right now, I'm applying for jobs. So with this degree, I'd like to be a director of choral activities at a university or college, pretty much anywhere.
Yeah.
It's one of those fields, it's one of those disciplines that there's not always a ton of jobs every single year. So
Right.
open to moving and seeing what the next chapter has in store for us.
Yeah,
So,
that's a good that
yeah.
you're willing to be open to like moving too, so that's good.
Yeah, definitely. But my research is in general terms, diversity, equity, and inclusion. But my research right now is looking at power structures in choral programs, collegiate choral programs, and how we can, as a field, be more proactive and address the issues that we've had in our field that have kept BIPOC, LGBTQ plus individuals that have been historically oppressed excluded from these spaces. And so my future work, regardless if that's at a university and college or whatever I end up doing, is going to be in that general direction of how can we find ways to build bridges so that we can have a more unified, collective understanding of humanity.
Yeah, I love that.
So
that is
big
so
big
needed.
Goals, but yeah, I'm trying to do my
happen.
best in the areas and the work that I'm in. So if we all just do our part, I think we have a lot of hope for the future.
It starts with us.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Yana, welcome.
Hey, Yana.
Well, I guess we can wait a few minutes till
yeah, I'm cool to just chill and talk.
Hi, Lucy.
I did bring my mug.
Good.
As
I got mine too.
Sweet. I don't. What I have in my mug is usually what I don't have in mugs. I'm drinking red wine tonight, so.
Hey,
but
girl, if I would have known
mug.
you were bringing wine, I would have brought it. I'm actually being good tonight and having tea.
Oh, well, tea's great too.
It is, but I do like to drink.
We're getting into the holiday season. Just need a little something warm.
Yeah, exactly. Hi, Wendy. Oh, I love my tea because I've been buying the yogi ones and they give you like a little cute message.
Yeah, what's tonight's?
If we're happy, everybody looks up and shares our happiness. I like that. Hi, Bethany.
Mm-hmm. Hey, girl.
Yeah. So yeah, I hope everyone brought their favorite mug.
Yep. I got some.
Life is tough, but so are you.
Oh. I'm actually at my fiance's parents' house, and so I grabbed one of my favorite mugs that I have at their house, and it has these holly and berries and very festive.
Very cool. Get in the spirit.
Yeah.
Great to see you too, Yana. Thank you for joining, all of you. Does everyone have their mug, and what do they have in it? I want to know. Whether it's
Yeah.
wine, beer,
Yeah.
tea, water, anything. So what are your plans for Christmas?
Just small family things. Just staying home, cooking food that we have here, not
All we
trying to
can
leave.
during COVID.
Right. Yeah. Just staying safe. We are at my fiance's place, but I have my mask right here. We stay socially distanced and masked while we're in the house when we're in the same room with other people. And
Nice.
it's been nice to be around family and yet still know each other's boundaries and what we need to do to be together and still enjoy each other's presence.
And it's so good that you're like very respectful of them too, and that's what you have to be, whether you respect it or not, or you agree with it. You have to be respectful of someone else.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean,
especially
it would break my heart. Yeah, it would break my heart if anyone got sick or walked away with any sort of harm from us getting together. But this year in particular, it was really needed for us to not be isolated. So
yeah, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
I really get it.
Yeah. So doing our best to do it all with as many precautions as possible.
Absolutely. I totally agree with that. Hi, everyone that joined. Hi, Amber. Hi, Danielle. I don't have one yet, but it will be my usual lavender tea. Nice.
Ooh, yum.
My Y addiction, which is cardamom seeds.
Hey, Mark.
What is cardamom seeds?
Cardamom?
Cardamom seeds?
Yeah, I don't know. Is that cardamom tea?
I don't know. Yana, let us know. So I guess we can get started?
Yeah, let's go for it.
So take it away, girlfriend. Tell me.
All right.
Tell us, everyone. Well, I already introduced you, Kiernan Steiner. Beautiful, amazing girl. Share your story.
Yeah, definitely. We've been connected because of a lot of the posts that I've been sharing due to my adoption. So I was adopted as an infant at 6 weeks old. It was a domestic adoption. I was born and raised in rural Wisconsin. But I was also am a transracial adoptee. So I, as a biracial woman of Filipinx and Irish German descent, I was raised in a family of English and German descent. So I was the only person of color in my family. So I was raised and grew up in this small town in Wisconsin. And, just starting to, at a very young age, really seeing the differences between myself and others and struggling with myself, struggling with my identity, how to fit in, how to find friends. And just not really sure what my trajectory was going to look like because I didn't feel like I had models for that in my life. It was a really healthy family dynamic adoption. I was adopted by a single mother who's also a Christian. Now she's in a Presbyterian church pastor. And so the family I was adopted into, the Steiner family, I'm lucky enough I had lots of uncles and cousins, and my grandparents were really involved in helping raise me. So family was always around and a really present part of my childhood. So it was a really wonderful family unit, but still not having that genetic mirroring or the ethnic mirroring was still a challenge for me. And I didn't really share that openly. When it got more difficult in like the middle school, high school ages, when I was really little, there's a story that I think I shared with you the other day of when I was in kindergarten. I went home crying because the activity for the day was to draw your own portrait, your self-portrait, and I didn't have the right color crayons. And so I went home crying that day because I didn't feel like I could properly draw myself the same way my peers could. And in response to that, my adopted mom, went out and bought multicultural crayons to be sure that all of my classrooms, wherever I would go, I would be able to draw myself if that was ever the activity again. And so I was very vocal about that at a young age. And then I think as I started to realize or maybe find or feel more shame around that, I just became more quiet about sharing that really vocally.
Right.
And, just kind of found my space then in music. And so, being now getting my doctorate in choral conducting, I look back and I see how really formative the music I was listening to was, the ways I used music to cope and regulate my mood and to just be in a space where I felt safe. That was very much, music was my best friend. Music was where I went to. Music, I would write my own songs and poetry to express myself. And so it was just such a big part of that. And, really then since I graduated from high school, I got my bachelor's degree in music education and taught high school choir for 2 years. Mm-hmm. And then in the last 5 years have been in the graduate studies area, planning to work at the university level. But all really in the back of my mind, it's because I want to create I want to create communities of change. I want to create communities that are based in empathy and compassion.
I was just going to say that, compassion, yeah.
Yeah, and then we can use music as a vehicle to share that exchange of ideas and dialogue and just be in community together.
I love that.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so cool. I love that. I mean, I love music myself, but yeah, definitely. Especially, it is definitely an scapegoat. I'll tell you that much.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
absolutely.
Like, if they're like, whatever mood I'm in, like, if I just want, there are nights where I just want to listen to sad music because I'm just in that mood. And then there's other nights where I'm just like, I'm going to be sad. I'm sad, but I'm going to dance it out. I'm going to, and it just definitely uplifts your spirit.
Totally. There's a book, and I haven't had a chance to read it myself, but it really caught my attention because it's written by 2 sisters, and one of them has a DMA, which is the degree that I'm working towards, a Doctorate of Musical Arts in choral conducting. Okay. And the other sister, I've lost it already, but I believe at least a master's, if not a doctorate as well in social work, or it's in the sciences. And so they've co-wrote this book called Burnout, and they talk about how we hold emotions in our bodies. And especially like coming from a musician's point of view, if we're constantly learning music, studying music, writing, expressing our own emotions, we may not go through the full cycle of processing those emotions, and those emotions can get stuck in our body, in our physical bodies. And so how important it is for us, on the larger scale of looking at stress and burnout, regardless of what field or discipline you work in, knowing that we need to process our emotions, and how movement, as you were saying, like dancing and getting into our bodies, is such a key part of doing that and experiencing and processing, getting that stuff out of our physical body so we can cope and feel healthier.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Wow.
Yeah.
So at what age did you find out? Did you always know I know, like, of course.
I always, from my point of view, I've always known I was adopted. And the word adoption and adoptee and adoptive family was always something that was really positive in my family. It was expressed to me as, we have wanted a child in our family for so long, and we are so lucky that we got to be the ones chosen to raise you. And I know sometimes that language can be really problematic for certain adoptees. And for me, most of the time it was a very positive feeling. I didn't feel that sense of, especially like white saviorism. I did not necessarily feel that from my own family directly growing up. I may look back on some things now and not really not be sure what intentions were behind certain things that were said. But overall, I did feel like they felt I belonged, and I really did find a sense of belonging. But there's that other part of, with, as all adoptees know, that can't be fulfilled by anyone but biological family and connections.
Exactly. Or within yourself. Yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely. And a lot of that,
that's
as
where the
you
happiness starts from.
And knowing, for me, it's really been this last year that I would have called or named or identified adoption as trauma. I don't know if I would have used those exact words even a year ago. So I would say that, you know, it's been gradual of coming out of the fog, as we say in adoption circles. But really this last year was another big cycle for me, another big phase of me having a deeper understanding and going further into my own understanding of the adoption industry as a whole, to see kind of what is the meta narrative that is operating at the same time we have these adoption stories that and that, you know, span the spectrum of from really, you know, wonderful loving families to really poor experiences. And so how do we manage all of these stories and still feel like we can come to the table and feel like we're doing something for the good of everybody in the adoption triad? And so this year has been one for me to really examine my own story and my own feelings towards all of that.
That's amazing. I know I saw you were doing a challenge, and you were doing you were showing a picture, and it was like day 1 till day 27 or something like that.
Yeah, it was the month of November for the Adoption Awareness Month, and the Photo a Day challenge was hosted by it's the IG handle Big Tough Girl, and they do this challenge, I believe, for the last many years. I think maybe even 10 years or longer. And so each day followed the alphabet, actually, because it was 26 days. And so, you know, there were different words that we just had to respond, like, what triggered a memory or a feeling in our own adoption story. And from all different areas of the triad too. So that in the triad are adoptees, birth moms, and adoptive parents, or APs. Wow. So anyone could engage with that photo challenge, and really beautiful.
Really cool. Yeah, that's actually, yours is the first time I've ever seen that.
Oh, cool.
So, well, it's funny because I just recently started this page in July of this year.
Yeah.
So I'm not really too, like, even before July, I never knew there was like an adoption community, like they even existed.
Me either.
And like, I love it. Like, I absolutely am in love with, like, everyone, not in love, but you know what I mean? Like, I absolutely adore everyone who I've connected with. And it's just so powerful having a community like this. And, you know, things that weren't there for me growing up and things I would have really needed.
Absolutely. That's something that it really stops me in my tracks when I see how the adoption community comes out for one another in these spaces and really supports. And, you know, I think you make such a great point of saying when we were growing up, there weren't these opportunities to connect. And with technology, the fact that we can be, you know, connecting with one another, sharing our stories like this is so impactful. And I really do feel like adult adoptees who are currently sharing their stories, this is what's going to make change. Absolutely. We make it more personable. We make it real for people to understand what a human experience is like in this situation and these circumstances. And
the more
that, there's nothing to be ashamed of. There's nothing to feel guilty about. Like, these are the facts. It is what it is in many ways, in many of our scenarios. And so how can we show up for ourselves and future generations of adopted children and birth moms and adoptive parents to make sure that some of these things that we know could have been different.
Right.
You know, it could have been different.
Could have been easier.
Yeah, it could have been easier. It could have been more open. It could have been something that was at least, you know, I feel like in many ways, my relationship to my adoption story is because I decided I needed to learn more about it. I decided I had to release something. I had to share some of my story for me to feel less bound by it. And just how much it would have been helpful for somebody else to say, hey, you know what? You went through something like really, really big when you were such a small child. You know, let's maybe talk to somebody and just see, you know, how you feel about that. You know, just an offering. You know, regardless of if I would have taken that opportunity or not, I think I would have benefited so much from somebody else saying, hey, it's okay to feel a lot of things around this, or
Yeah,
not even know how you feel about it. But let's
absolutely.
explore those reasons why you may feel blocked from those emotions.
Exactly. For sure. Yeah, I really would. I do like. See, I never had like therapy. I never went to therapy for my adoption. I didn't have like any other adoptees around me. I had one girl that I was friends with, but we both knew we were adopted, but nothing really went from it. I think I remember her just asking me like a couple questions about my birth mother, and I was like, I just don't even remember like what I even told her. And I think she was like
Mm-hmm.
she wanted to like search for her, but I mean, I think we were like 9 or
Oh,
10
wow.
years old. So
Mm-hmm.
I was like, so I like, again, I couldn't really give her the advice I could give her right now,
Right. Yeah.
but that was it as far as I didn't know anybody else that was adopted, and yeah, I mean, I'm just so grateful for this community that I found so many people that just felt the same way I did, and it just gives me a sense of like a little bit of like peace in a way,
Mm-hmm.
just to know
Mm-hmm.
like I'm not all these thoughts weren't just me in my own
Totally.
head. So
The
yeah,
amount of affirmation and validation
yes,
that I've received, and I don't want to forget that a lot of that validation and affirmation comes from reading about stories that are not the easiest, right? And so how powerful it is. And, I really want to acknowledge all of the adoptees that take a chance and share these stories, because it is not easy.
no, it's not.
Um,
It's
and
very vulnerable. It's raw. It's just
and for my own personal like dialogue that I have going on in my head, I fight, the stories of why is your story important enough to share with anyone else? What do you have to say that's going to help anyone? And then also feeling like if I share something that is more emotional, will I seem like I'm not grateful, that I'm
mm-hmm.
not acknowledging the privilege I have been given through my adoption? And there's so many stories that I tell myself from what I think society is going to judge me on,
Right.
by sharing my story.
Yeah.
But knowing that there's something that hasn't been fully shared and exposed, I think, about the adoption industry and our stories and the real human experience,
Mm-hmm.
that I think is what keeps me coming back to this.
Absolutely. Yeah. And like you said about before, like you would never have thought of like adoption as trauma until this past year.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because like I mean obviously I knew my adoption was just always sadness growing up.
Mm-hmm.
But to really pinpoint it now as being like I always like considered like trauma to be something where someone went through like a horrific event and they're
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
traumatized from it, like PTSD and all, but we don't
Mm-hmm.
realize we are living PTSDs
Mm-hmm.
without even really experiencing the actual event.
Yes, it's what I've seen a term used before is that it's disenfranchised grief, because we
Mm-hmm.
don't have, a death of a loved one to pinpoint a loss,
Mm-hmm.
but that this grief that we're feeling, this heartache that we experience, is so deep, and then we have no way of finding closure,
Mm-hmm.
because in so many ways there isn't opportunities to paperwork, to the information that adoptees deserve,
Exactly.
to find that closure.
Absolutely.
And that's, I don't know, I'm not in all of the research now, but I'm sure there's so much more for us to learn about that.
Oh, absolutely. So I was gonna say, so you are in reunion with
Yes,
your
I
birth
am.
family.
So it will be 8 years in January that I have been in reunion with my birth mother and my half sister, and my sister. And now this last February of 2020 was when I connected with my dad, and that those two reunions have been really, really impactful in my own story and narrative. And it was really this when I met my dad, who is Filipino, and my whole family on that side that I've been able to connect with, has really helped me now start to reclaim and own my Filipina identity,
Yeah.
and in ways that I've never felt comfortable doing before. And so it was really in that connection with that family, and like learning the family recipes, like just learning language, learning. My family's also from Hawaii, so there's like a mixture of Filipino and Hawaiian culture that I'm learning, which is really cool. And, you know, just in these moments of relationship building that are so core to, for me to feel like I can walk out into this world and know where I come from and have a sense of home and have a sense of authority over my own power, that has been really life-changing. And I really do, you know, the horrific events of the murder of George Floyd this summer and Breonna Taylor, you know, my focus has always been in diversity, equity, inclusion. And so this, you know, summer was very much activated for me. And to talk to my dad as the only person of color, only parent of color that I have in my life, was such a life-changing experience for me to say to my dad, you know, like, I am having a really hard time right now, because of X, Y, and Z, because of the racial inequality, because of these conversations we're having. It's so heavy. I'm feeling so lost. But then being able to see him and see myself reflected back was so, I don't even have words to explain, but just that, it was so powerful, it was so impactful for me to move forward and saying, I know that I need to speak out on these issues because I know who my ancestors are. I know who my family is. And I believe that it's my honor to celebrate the struggles, to honor their struggle, and the sacrifices that they've made for me to be here today.
Wow. I do love that. Wow, that's amazing. So your adoptive mother, she was okay with you going and doing the search for your birth family? And
yeah,
like, do they talk? Do they have a relationship?
Yeah, my adopted mom, I told her when I was 20 years old. It was like right around this time. I had come home for winter break, my junior year of college. And I said, I feel like I'm in a really good place right now. I am ready to start the search for my birth mom. I knew it was a closed adoption, so I knew I had to wait till I was at least 18 years old to start looking. So I, you know, always kind of filed that in the back of my head of, okay, when you're 18, you can go looking. But I always knew I was going to search. I didn't talk about it much. I kept that very much on the DL. My mom would say, you know, whenever you're ready. It was something I didn't want to expose until I was truly ready. And so 20 years old, I decided, let's go looking for her. I'm ready, and I want to do this. And it didn't take very long. We had enough information to find at least her name and to get started. And so it was within like 3 weeks, I think we were in contact. And then because of my half sister, we waited until she learned about me and learned that I had reached out before we made any further contact. Okay. But with my adoptive mom, she's been supportive the whole time. You know, I'm sure she has her own journey and feelings and reactions around all of it. But we try to keep that pretty separate, just so we can respect each other's emotions around it. Right. But my adoptive mom and my birth mom have, you know, we've had family get-togethers. I've gone to Thanksgivings where we're all together. I've gone to birthday parties where we're together. And so my parents as a whole, my dad now, my birth mother, and my adoptive mom have been really respectful of each other's place in my life. And I feel really, really quite good about how that's going so far. So but, you know, there's emotions in all of it too, you know, and so I'm very cautious to overstep in terms of what I share of other people's, just to give them the space to share their story if at any point they decide to or need that opportunity to share. But I've been really grateful, you know. It's not easy. I don't want to make it seem like it's all roses. No,
I know that.
You know, there's plenty of emotion involved for everybody, but I'm very lucky as the adoptee in the middle of the triad to to say that I feel supported by my parents.
And that's all we really want to feel, just support,
Mm-hmm.
even if you don't agree with what we want to do, or if you don't understand our emotions,
Mm-hmm.
just understand and support, and that goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I feel
Absolutely.
like a lot of us thought these are very misunderstood growing up. Even
Mm-hmm.
now, I mean, there's some people that just, reach out to me and are like, I never knew that, how you felt, or I never knew how that's how, like, it's good to look at it this way. And
Mm-hmm.
like, I've had parents who want to adopt reach out to me and say, like, I'm so glad we're listening to you, because you're teaching us, and a lot of adoptee communities are teaching them, about raising your child, like an adopted child, how hard it's going to be for them, and how hard
Mm-hmm.
it's going to be for you. It's not going to be just you come home and then that's it. you
Exactly.
know
Yeah.
so
I've had many people reach out to me as well, and I'm still kind of surprised because I kind of forget how much I do share on social media sometimes, but it's so, again, affirming and really tells me that there are people listening, and there are really good people that could be really amazing parents that just need this information to be those amazing parents and to live up to their potential. And I do think that there's, especially in terms of adopting outside of your own race or ethnicity, it's really important that your child has access to their culture, to their language, to their heritage, as much as possible, even if the biological family is not in the picture. I know how much that would have supported me. This is something I didn't mention earlier, but because my birth father has always been from Hawaii, but we didn't know the ethnicity of my father. That was the confusion in my identity growing up, because I was told you're Hawaiian because I was conceived in Hawaii. And so again, it's this adoption industry that is willing to just throw a label on it, forgetting that there's a human that is attached to that and has to figure out how to deal with that.
Absolutely.
In reality, in the real world. And so to grow up being like, oh, I was told this, but I'm not really sure if it's true. So it took me until I want to say I was 26 or 27 when I did Ancestry DNA. And that's when I first found out I'm 50% Filipino.
Wow.
And so, really for my entire growing up being told you're Hawaiian, I was growing up in rural Wisconsin. So like for dress up days at school, it was like we would have Hawaiian shirt day. And just knowing how that was appropriating already, but then not feeling like I was being mocked and mimicked, and then not really sure what my relationship was to that, because I didn't know if that was fully my identity.
Right.
It's very complicated as we get into these things, but I know I'm not the only one that has experienced that as a transracial adoptee, as a person of color in general. And so it's just really important that adoptions that occur across those ethnic cultural lines, that we educate ourselves and be as proactive as possible.
Well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Finding role models that, look and are, living and breathing in the culture that your child is from is so major.
Oh, it absolutely is. Look, I mean, I didn't have the experience. I am white. I was raised with a white family. But it's funny when you said that you found out, like you assumed that you were all Hawaiian because you were conceived there. So I, growing up, thought I was completely 100% Romanian because that's where I was born.
Okay.
Until I did the DNA test in last Christmas.
Okay.
And girl, I found out I was about 50% Greek. Never thought that. Then the rest of it was all Eastern European. So you name it, I am it. and then I'm 2% Italian, and I was raised with a whole bunch of Italians, and I've always just associated myself as Italian. So when someone said like, "Oh, well, what are you?" I was like, "I'm not getting into all that." I was like, "Well," I was like, "I'm Italian." So I was so happy to hear that I was Italian. But when I saw Greek, I was like, "Huh?"
Wow.
Yes,
That,
which
how
brought a whole
exciting.
new. It was actually very exciting because I love Greece and I love my big fat Greek wedding. And I was like,
Yeah.
I want to be Greek, and
Heck
now I
yes.
am.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm
Yeah.
like walking around the house saying "oppa" the whole
Yeah.
time, but until people told me it was getting annoying. But I still did it. But then what else? I just lost my train of thought.
That's okay. It's okay.
So I'm saying I'm trying to figure. I'm 50% Greek, and then I would say I am Romanian, Polish, Russian. I think like Hungarian. Like I mean,
Mm-hmm.
just everything. When I looked at it, I was like, I'm like, I got like 10 bloodlines. I'm like, I just want to be one. Or just can you just make me all Greek? But it was funny because when I found out I like mixed emotions, so I was like, oh, I love that the fact that I'm Greek. But then I'm like, but that changes my whole dynamic to like my birth father. Then I was like, well, does that mean he's Greek, or is this not him? Or, but I was like,
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, don't even go into things like that because then I made myself even crazier thinking that. But yeah, it's funny. It's so fun. I can't believe I even did the DNA test because I was so against it. I was like, no, I was like, I'm fine. I know what I am. I don't need to know
Mm-hmm.
until I got it back. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah, definitely. Well, just it really does change the way you look at yourself. Like for me, I look in a mirror now and knowing both of my parents, I see myself differently because I actually can say, oh,
Yeah.
like, oh, I kind of have my mom's eyes. Oh, I definitely have my mom or my dad's nose.
Yeah.
And to not to be able to identify that makes me feel less like I was just kind of dropped out of the air.
Oh, I used to say
I
the
don't know.
stork. I call it
I'm
the
sure
stork
other
for
adoptees
adoptees.
feel that. Yeah, of just
Yeah.
like knowing I was adopted at 6 weeks. That's kind of where like the timeline starts in my brain of when I have stories of people telling me things about my childhood. So it's like it really does make you feel like, oh, I come from people. Like I have a family
Right? I
line.
wasn't just, yeah,
I'm
like you said, I'm not an alien. I wasn't just dropped here. It was,
yeah.
yeah, absolutely.
And it really does make you feel, I mean, this year, again, with like the decolonization work that I'm doing now as well, it's really about connecting with your ancestors, connecting with, the natural world around us, and being in right relationship with ourselves, with other people, with other living things. And to connect with my family in this way is just, it really does make me feel more human.
Absolutely.
And I think at the end of the day, across the board, whether you're adopted or not, everyone is searching for a sense of belonging, a sense of home, a sense of purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to know that, I think as adoptees, um, you know, I can't speak for everyone, but feeling like we can use these stories, these experiences to help someone else, to shed light on an experience, to not say that our pain is purposeful, but that our pain and our experiences have a meaning, have something, that it's not completely in vain, that we can use it
We're
as our
turning our pain
power.
into purpose.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And
Exactly.
that's exactly, I'm using my weakness as a strength now because adoption was my weakness. There used to be times where like I hated talking about it. Like I literally hated talking about it. Like I felt so ashamed. I felt like so many different things about my adoption. I just like, I don't even want to like, I don't want anyone to know. Then I wasn't telling anybody because I just was like, you know what? I'm here. That's it. And because I was just so ashamed by so much that I found out, and how I just treated myself. So just like I just completely like just threw everything. I completely cut off my whole connections to my biological roots. After finding out about my birth mother, about like what happened to her, and then just all these other things that came along with it. Like the post I put up today was like, from PI to TMI, from private investigator to too much information. And I thought I was going to find like a very big, like fun, wonderful, happy reunion, and it just turned out to be stuff that maybe was just too much for me to know. And I'm glad I do know, but there are some things that maybe I shouldn't have known because it made me feel worse about myself. So I ended up cutting all ties with my whole biological roots to heal. And I do want to go back into a reunion for the second time. Hopefully that time will go better, but if that, I want to be in the right mental state at that point, and at least be prepared that whatever the outcome is, I can handle it, because I couldn't handle it the first time. But yeah, definitely handle it better this time.
Well, and
go back and
that
say.
healing is not something that is just linear, that is just going to keep progressing. You know, sometimes we have to take a pause and we have to breathe and reevaluate,
regroup.
I know for myself in reunion, I don't know if I was prepared for it. But I don't think you're ever fully prepared for the information that you actually learn in that moment. You're like, okay, I'm guarding myself. I got my armor on. And then you hear the information, and then there's no way to necessarily predict or prepare. The information that you do learn. And it's, you know, it's hard because you're so wrapped up in that story as the baby, as the child that was the product of this interaction of people. And you know, I've definitely felt a lot of responsibility in the past, responsibility that's not mine, that I would not take on anymore. But you know, it still is something that we go through in cycles, I think, in understanding our relationship to our stories.
Yeah, for sure. So when you mentioned something about like you were so excited to finally be able to like share features from your birth family, and that's something I never had a picture growing up. So when I was told, I didn't know what they looked like. I didn't have any pictures. So I would literally, I don't tell too many people this, but I'm in the middle of writing a children's book.
Oh wow!
For adoption, for adoptees, just a very small few pages. I have a name all picked out for my personal experience, but I used to, as a kid, after I found out, I would like stare in the mirror. Well, actually, before I found out, I would still stare in the mirror, and I was wondering who I looked like, because I didn't look like either of my parents. Like all the kids at school look like their parents, and my adopted brother looks like my mom, and like both of them. And I was like, who do I look like? So when I found out, it kind of like all came together, because I was 8. But I was like, okay, that kind of makes sense now that I'm not from you biologically. And so then I would stare in the mirror every night and just wonder what my birth parents look like. So I would like take features of myself and create images of them. And I'm like, well, what if I have, like you said, like my mom's eyes, or like my dad's nose, or whatever like that, until I did the search and I found my birth mother, and I looked dead like her.
Wow.
Yeah, just little older, put all dark, and and that's me.
Wow.
And I was like, now I know who I'm gonna look like growing up. I don't look like my father, which I'm so glad. Yeah, I don't want to look like him ever. But yeah, it was really great to finally at least have that I know I look like somebody. Yeah, I get that feeling big time.
Yeah, it's major. It really is.
So you were mentioning, so you were okay, I'm going to say, because I'm very proud of myself, I was practicing today. I was actually talking to Bethany this morning. And I was like, I'm going to tell you what I just learned.
Yes.
So, Kumo Necta Kapwa.
Yes, you got it.
Yes. So you are the co-founder, and I want you to explain it to people, because you're going to do a much better job than I am.
Okay, great. So we're very, very excited. I'm working with 2 other Filipina transracial adoptees. We've come up with this idea of calling this collective Kumonekta Kapwa, which is our mission is to create relationships across the Filipinx diaspora with individuals who are in the process or want to reclaim their Filipinx roots. So as adoptees, as transracial adoptees, we have a very specific lens that we're looking at issues of displacement and separation with our language, our culture, and our motherland, but really wanting to provide a space for the Filipinx community at large to connect and build these bridges so that we can be stronger together.
Yes. Wow,
So
that's incredible.
our plan is we've just launched our Instagram page. So you can go to kumonekta_kapwa to see just kind of a little bit more information about our mission, as well as our bios. So with Journey of My TRA Soul, Bethany, and Alexandra with Embodied Empowerment Project, and myself, Decolonizing Kiki. We have our bios up, and we'll be posting information to that IG page about future events that we're planning. And keep an eye out. It'll be something coming out in January.
Nice. That's so exciting. I'm so happy for you. Yes, I do follow
Thank
that
you.
page. Yes. Actually, I usually like talk to people through this, but I was just so intently listening to you that I did not want anyone to feel like I was ignoring them. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, it's okay.
So, Chris, 100% nothing was offered. We have to go find and get it ourselves. May it be support information about our adoption. Absolutely. Welcome to the new people who joined in. Hi, everyone. Oh my gosh, so many people joined. I'm sorry.
Thank you all for being here.
Yes, thank you. It's so neat to learn about our DNA details. Yes, it is, Bethany. So wonderful. Yana is still awake. she was afraid she was going to miss it because she was sleeping.
Oh, man.
I'm
so glad you're here.
With biological mirroring. Thank you, Bethany. Wow, I'm so glad you all are. Wow, we have a nice steady about 7 people on. That's awesome. Does anyone have any questions for
yeah, feel free.
When I saw your decolonizing Kiki, I had that song in my head, Kiki.
Oh yeah.
That's a Kiki. Do you know, so the whole day, like when I was singing that song, and I was like, and when the first time we talked, I was going to start to sing it to you, but I'm like, maybe don't do that because she's probably heard it like a million times.
No, you should have. I would have loved it.
Because people do Michelle My Belle all the time. Every time I sing, it's singing like the Beatles song, Michelle My Belle. And my uncle sings it to me, and I love it. And like, it's just like an automatic thing what people do, and like I'm used to it, but it's like,
yeah.
Okay.
No, Kiki's actually a more like recent nickname for me. My niece calls me Kiki. You know, from my fiance's family, and so when I came into the picture, she was a little baby, and so we just shortened it to Kiki.
It's easier. I'm sure it's easy for her.
Yeah, it's a lot easier than me trying to explain. Actually, this is a little bit of a secret. And maybe I'll decide to not do this anymore. But for a while, when I would go get my Starbucks coffee, I would just give them like a really easy name that I knew they wouldn't ask me how to spell. So I usually would always use my fiance's name, which is Sam. And so I was like, our name's Sam. Then they never have to ask me to spell it for them.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. You should say Kiki. That'd be cute.
Yeah, I think I'll have to say Kiki from now on.
And you got to let me know how many people start singing it to you.
Yeah, for
real. Now I'm going to have that song on my stick. I know. That's so funny. Yeah, well, yeah, I don't really have, but my cousin is Nawana.
Oh wow.
And you know, she just always says like her daughter's name Hannah every time.
Oh yeah.
Any order but I don't really think Nawana is very hard to say.
No, it really isn't.
It just kind of sounds like you would spell it the way it sounds.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why she does that. She's funny. But wow.
The many different names I've been called with people trying to not Kerman, Kirsten, which very nice names. No, nothing against those names, but not my name.
But there's no T in your name.
And no S. No S in my name.
And then what was the first one? There was like a W in the
Kerman.
Or
actually I used to get mail because a lot of times like the R and the N in my name in Kiernan, it looks like it's an M. And when I was applying for colleges, I would get mail to Kerman Steiner. And I just decided, like, there was a rule. Any school that addressed mail to me to Kerman, I was just not going to apply to. So.
That's when you said Kermit. Have you been called Kermit?
Probably. We
have a Kirsten on here.
Yeah. Beautiful
My
name.
cousin said Colin and I were just talking about that.
Our names don't look the same.
No, they definitely don't. It's funny. Nawana's other daughter is on here. She said her and her husband was just talking about that. That's so funny.
It's all right. I'm always ready. Whatever people say that starts with a K, I just respond to it these
Well,
days.
exactly. Yeah, you're just like, yeah,
Me?
that's me. Sure. Call me Sue. Okay, as long as you give me my drink, I'm fine. I don't care what you call me.
Yeah.
Like my mom's name is Rosalie, and I
Okay.
keep telling her it's a beautiful name. But
Yeah.
she thinks that she's the only Rosalie in the world. So every time I see someone with Rosalie, I'm like, look, Ma, you got it.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
but she's been called like Rosalind.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know
Mm-hmm.
why Rosalind. Rosemary. Like they just butchered so much of her name.
They
But
just choose a different
then I
name
was
for
like, so I
her.
just call her Ro. Just
Oh,
Ro.
okay.
So much
That's cool.
easier.
I
Yeah.
like that. I like
Yes.
that.
All right, so we have a few minutes left.
Yeah.
Usually when we have time, I like to ask. Sometimes I don't get a chance to ask everyone that come
Yeah.
on, but what advice would you give to adoptees and adoptive parents?
Okay. To adoptees, I would say do the inner work for yourself. Focus on your peace and your happiness and your ability to connect with yourself and name what you need and not feel guilty about that. Step into your own power and know that your story is your weapon, and not a weapon for destruction, but a weapon for creation, and that you have way more power because you have the ability to empathize and to see things from many different perspectives, because we've always had to adapt and adjust to fit other people's molds and ideas of who we are. And I think that can be turned into a skill that can be really helpful to making connections with other people and showing them that we're not alone, and that we have the capacity for a lot more love than I think we as a society want to believe.
You should actually use that as your post, that weapon one.
Yeah.
That is amazing. I love that. Don't use it for destruction. Use it as for
creation.
For creation. I love it.
Yeah, I got that from one of my friends. I'm gonna shout out to Slow Blooming 33, Frances Fu. She's been an incredible mentor to me. And yeah, I can't agree with that statement even anymore.
Yeah.
But for adoptive parents, I would say educate yourself about the adoption industry as a whole. Really have an understanding of what you're stepping into, because there's a responsibility that comes with that, not just for your child, but the minute that you enter this space, you now must be an advocate for your child and an activist in a way that maybe you didn't really prepare for. So be ready to speak out, be ready to be bold, be ready to be dynamic as your child's advocate. And then get to know your child, truly get to know your child, and offer those conversations, offer spaces for those conversations that are going to be difficult, and recognize that you won't be able to fully provide everything for your child, that you can provide a lot, and you can provide support and resources like therapy and supports in finding community for your student. Your student, I'm sorry, my teacher language came out. For your child. Yeah, for your child to connect and find community and a sense of belonging. And be ready to have your feelings hurt.
Yes.
And
I always tell
okay
people,
with
don't
it.
take it personally. It's not about
Yeah.
you.
Yeah. And know that there's a much more beautiful, more truthful story that can unfold if you can also own up to your relationship, your position within that story.
Yeah.
And that in many ways, my adoptive mom has provided so much for me, and I have so much gratitude for that. But she also entered into a space where we have these conversations now together. And so it just means that there has to be a willingness to be open and a flexibility of your thinking, of your belief system, and know that your child may differ from you in many ways.
Yeah. Well, all I'm going to say is cheers to that, because
cheers.
That was perfect.
Thank
All
you.
right. Well, oh, jeez. I guess it's like I'm drinking wine. I'm making a mess of it. I'm not even drunk. Um, Thank you so much. Everyone, please go follow her at decolonizing_Kiki. Please go love all her posts, because especially her challenge ones, those are amazing. I think you're going to learn a lot from her, a lot from the adoptee community, her new mission. Can't wait, excited for it. And just, yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for taking time tonight and for your support. And I wish you all, I'm not having any more lives before Christmas, so I wish you all a very Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate, happy to it.
Amazing.
So,
Thank you so much, Michelle. This is so much fun.
It was fun. All right, and then I'll talk to you later.
All right, sounds good.
Have a good
night,
night,
everyone.
Good night.
Be well.
Yes, bye.
Bye.